I've read more 5-star books in the month of June than I have the entire rest of the year combined. Welcome or welcome back to Francesca's Books. My name is Francesca, these are my books, and here we talk about all things thriller books. And today I have the most exciting reading wrap up to share with you, and of course July's TBR. But before we even get to that, 3, 4, 5-star books. I literally lost count in the month of June. But I'm gonna preface this with only some of them are thriller books. We have talked before about the fact that like my other romance book, palette cleansers, contemporary fiction, etc. tend to rate a little bit higher, but these books are going to be so wonderful and you are just definitely gonna add them to your TBR. I do not have enough enthusiasm to describe how good this reading month was. I read an incredible 11 books in the month of June, which I'm really happy with because I went on vacation this month and thought if I can't read a good number of months, given I have 10 days like not working, then when is it even possible? So I vlogged my whole reading vacation. If you want to see the books that I read in that with me reading them in real time, you can of course go and check it out. Otherwise, let's just dive straight in. So the first book I read was an advanced copy of Holly Jackson's next book, Not Quite Dead Yet. This is out on July 17th, so it's literally like a couple more weeks now, guys. You are going to love this. It was a 4-star from me, very much enjoyed it. I think it just didn't have that like 5-star feeling, and I do have a couple of points I'm going to tell you about. But first, this is Holly Jackson's supposed adult debut. This is not a YA book and the first time that she has ventured into like just the adult thriller genre, I guess. So this follows Jet, who's 27, and one night she gets hit on the back of the head and basically passes out. She wakes up in hospital. She's like, oh my god, like I made it, I'm not dead, like I'm so happy. Anyway, with that the doctor comes in and is like, actually kind of not going to be okay. So she basically has an estimated 7 days before she will unalive, and in the meantime she wants to figure out exactly who did this to her. Firstly, this concept was super unique. I really enjoyed it. I haven't read anything like this before, so that was like immediate bonus points in my book. But in terms of the genre, I think this still reads YA. I think what Holly Jackson's done here is add in like 50 F words and then just gone, yeah, this is adult. I mean, it's a little bit more gritty in terms of the descriptions of like what's going on in her life and the other people. There's a bit more like commentary around like affairs and scandal and stuff like that, but it still reads, the actual prose of it reads quite young, in my opinion. Maybe like new adult. I think it would be unfair to be like this is YA through and through. It's not, and obviously I'm not recommending this to people who are of a young adult age. I'm not suggesting you go and read it because that's, the guidelines are there for a reason. However, that is just like my hot take on it. I think it's definitely still worth picking up. I really enjoyed the concept, really enjoyed the ending. This one got me a little bit in the feels, a little bit in the didn't know what went on, but that is just my addition to the commentary. Then I don't have a physical copy, but I read A Phantom Limb by Lucinda Berry, and this absolutely blew me away. Okay, my expectations were like here. I was like, yeah, okay, cool, let's read another Lucinda Berry book. I seem to be really enjoying them at the moment. I gave it a 4.5. It was so freaking good. All of Lucinda Berry's books are definitely on the darker side. They all explore some mental health themes, like explicitly, like in terms of like diagnoses and actually looking at mental illness as well. So if that's not really your thing, probably steer away from her books more in general. However, I love this. It's kind of like Ward D by Frida McFadden. It follows these identical twins who are literally like inseparable for their entire lives, and then one of them gets a romantic partner, and it's understanding like the dynamics of that, and then something like completely out of left field happens, which is technically on the synopsis, but I've said this before, do not read the synopsis if you're going to read this book. I think it's a huge spoiler personally. I wouldn't have put it on the cover, but also then you might not have liked the direction that it took, so I don't know. This was absolutely wonderful. The only reason it didn't get a 5 from me was I felt like the ending was a tiny bit anticlimactic, but that is really me just being picky and not giving thriller books 5 stars for the sake of it, but this one definitely came close. And then I read His First Wife by Sue Watson, which is the final pick of the Thrills and Chills book club that I've been working on with Amazon and Tandem Collective. It has been a ride. We've read some really good books, including a John Mars book, which was of course so this is like vacation thriller crossed with a romantic thriller, which I get requested like good book recommendations that fall into this category quite a lot. So here's your recommendation. I do feel like the writing is it's kind of like Frida McFadden-esque in a way. So if you're a fan of those books, I think you may like this. It's very like popcorn thrillery, like relatively low state but still a fantastic time. I gave this like 3.5. I would recommend it if you're just like sat on the beach and want something like quick and easy to read. So then I read With a Vengeance by Riley Sager, and this was my Fable book club pick of the month. If you're still not over on Fable reading a book a month with me, then literally why not? It is completely free. You just have to click the link in the description. If you're already on Fable, it is super easy to join. If not, you can download Fable and import all of your Goodreads data, so you can also use it like a tracking platform as well. I'm currently on Goodreads and on Fable, so I update my recommendations on both, so whichever platform you're on, you can absolutely catch me like giving you guys the updates. But Fable as a platform has the book club feature, hence why I'm over there, I'm chatting to you guys. So we read With a Vengeance, and I think the general consensus was it was okay, but it wasn't Riley Sager's best book, and I would wholeheartedly agree. So this follows a woman who gets 6 supposed strangers onto an overnight train from Philadelphia to Chicago to teach them a lesson about something they did in the past. And while that sounds good, I just think this concept has been done. I think that's why there was nothing really kind of like added to this. I actually liked the train talk and like the technicalities of the trains more than most of this story, which I think says a lot. Maybe about me, but probably about the book. This definitely does have like Riley Sager's strong prose. There's absolutely nothing flawed about his writing whatsoever. I love his writing. I think it was just the overall vibe, but this is one that I would recommend if you like books that are set in like one night or one day. I've had a few requests for that recently, so I would err towards this definitely if you enjoyed those kind of books. But I'm probably going to rate this straight down the middle with like a 2.5, 3. It's not a negative rating, but it's also not a super positive one. So I'm trying to be a little bit more critical with my reviews because we have the whole like 0 to 5 star range to use, and so I'm using it. I'm using it straight down the middle, 2.5. Then for my first 5 star of June, so I read First Time Caller by BK Borison. This is of course not a thriller, this is a romance palette cleanser, but it was so good. This book made me feel like an Abby Jimenez book, and I feel like that is really saying something because I adore Abby Jimenez's books. So this follows 2 people that meet on a radio station, and when I first picked this up I was like, what does that even mean? But the story plays out in such a nice way, like brilliantly paced, brilliant level of spice, like none of these things took over the plot. Really like unique concept of course, and also the characters were aged up into their 30s, which also loved. Since it's not really comparable to like the other thriller books, that's all I can really say. If you want something a little bit lighter over the summer to pick up this one. Then I read You Deserve to Know by Aggie Blum Thompson. I've never read anything from this author before. It was a complete, like, I'd been seeing this book around and thought, yeah, sure, it feels like a light, a holiday read, and oh my gosh, it was. This is giving very much rich people drama, honestly. If you are a rich people drama lover in thrillers, you will adore this. If you ear away from them, Lexi, I'm talking to you, then maybe it would be a skip, but in terms of the actual rich people drama done well, was brilliant. So this follows 3 couples. One of them has just moved into the neighborhood, and basically one of their husbands is unalived. Won't tell you which one. I don't actually know if it's in the synopsis or not, but either way, it doesn't make sense to know that before going in. Then it's just kind of like a back and forth, a scandal, a secret, a betrayal, affairs, embezzlement, everything to work out why he's been unalived, but then everybody else has their own stuff going on as well. There is a few like little subplots which I also loved. So I gave this a 4.5. It just missed the 5 star mark because I feel like this rich people drama, couples doing each other over vibe has been done so many times before, so therefore I couldn't give it a 5 because it is a similar theme. I feel like for a thriller book to get a 5 star for me, it does have to do like a little bit more than just be what it is, and that was the situation here, I think. However, I will absolutely be checking out more of this author's backlist. I am now a huge fan. Do you see what I mean? Like, I told you this month was a good reading month. Like, I just don't really have anything super negative to say about literally any of these books. Which brings me to my next read, which was a 4 star, and it is The Cliffhanger by Emily Freud, another brand new author to me. I definitely read this one for like its vacation thriller vibes. So this follows a couple who go to the south of France because they're like uninspired in their writing and they need to get a new book out as they are thriller authors. So they start writing this book, the husband does a chapter, the wife does a chapter, and it goes back and forth like that. You also get the story they're writing within this book, but I've mentioned in other videos that it is really, really easy to keep track of. It doesn't feel complicated, and it doesn't feel complex in any way. The chapters that they're writing are like in italics, and then the actual story is in regular font. So especially if you're reading this physically, you just wouldn't have a hard time keeping up at all. Perhaps if you read it on audio, maybe, I don't know if there would be a narration difference. This is also told largely from the male main character's point of view, which I feel like is quite rare in thriller books that you pick up and it's from the male's point of view. I know out of all of Freedom McFadden books, she's literally done one recently that's like male main character point of view. So if you also enjoy that perspective, this could be also another really good book for you. And then next we have our second 5-star book of the month, and it is a thriller. If you watch my vacation vlog or follow me on Instagram in any regard, this has been all over. However, if you've not seen, you'll be very happy to know it is The Girl Who Was Taken by Charlie Donnelly. This was another brand new author to me. I don't know what happened this month in terms of like discovering new authors. This is one though that I really don't know why I haven't tried his books before, because I know he is a very popular author. A lot of my US friends talk about him often, so I'm just really glad that I got around to finally giving his books a go. And this was a wonderful 5-star. Like, it wasn't just like a, yeah, I think it was a 5-star. A knockout 5-star. I loved this. This is also on Kindle Unlimited as well. I did order this copy from the US on US Amazon to the UK, my delivery address. So obviously, like, it's quite expensive to do it that way. I did it, I don't know, sometimes I feel a bit reckless and do things like that. But if you are in the UK, it's on KU. So there is a free trial at the moment that's actually for 3 months instead of 1 month. So I'll leave the link below if you want to go and check that out, and you can read it for free. If you've already got KU, fantastic. Basically just got it for free as well. But if you're desperate for a physical book, you can do the US Amazon thing, or I'm sure you could get it like on Vinted or something maybe. I don't know. Anyway, this follows 2 girls who go missing from their like senior high school party. But they're 2 girls who haven't really got on or like aren't that close. They're not the best of friends anyway, so it's a bit of a rogue combination of people to go missing on the same night. There's a lot of backstory leading up to this main event. You get a lot of information in the past, you get a lot of information on the actual night itself, and then you also get another couple of perspectives of, one from the kidnapper, or who we think is the kidnapper, and 2 from the sister of one of the girls that went missing, who is a forensic pathologist, okay? And I very much enjoy learning about forensic pathology. So if, like me, you had no idea what this meant, apparently it's somebody who does autopsies. That's it, it's somebody who does autopsies and figures out like the cause of death, etc. I just found this really interesting to like read about. Anyway, the sister wanted to be a forensic pathologist in the first place so that she was like first there if her sister was ever found unalived. Kind of weird if you ask me, but hey ho, we get her perspective. It was very interesting. The whole book was really gripping. The quality of writing was really high. The prose was fantastic. It wasn't as basic and popcorny as some of the other thriller books that I've read, but also it wasn't super complex. It was like a perfect bang in the middle for me. Kind of like John Mars's writing, like a little bit more complex than some of the popcorny stuff, but still like brilliant, like just fantastic. There was no way this wasn't a 5-star. As soon as I finished it, highly recommend. Definitely my book of the month. And then next up I read another Shari LaPenna book, and it is What Have You Done? This is her most recent release as I'm filming this, but she does have one coming out in another 2 weeks. This has just come out in paperback, so yeah, I snapped it up. So this is a missing person story as well kind of like an unalived person story. So this teenage girl is found in a farmer's field, unalived. She's not wearing any clothes, and honestly it's a bit of a sight for this farmer that finds her. Then it's obviously like reported and the police come and get her and do their investigations and blah blah blah. This is very much told from the perspective of the townspeople, not the detective. I don't think there is even a detective point of view, but they are present within the story, but it's definitely not a detective story, which I'm thankful for. But what I loved about this book and what made it definitely different to other like small town missing person stories is that you got the point of view of the girl who was unalived, but it wasn't paranormal. Or maybe kinda. It wasn't like, ooh, I'm a ghost. It was just like her perspective on what was going on. Can't really explain it better than that, but I really, really like this. You guys know I kind of do crossover into horror sometimes, or paranormal thrillers. And while I wouldn't describe this as that in any way, it aired on it. You know, if you liked hidden pictures and you like that level of like there being, ooh, a little paranormal influence, but it's not like straight up ghost story, this is probably where I would go next. I gave this 4 stars. I really liked it. It's not my favourite Shari LaPenna, but it's definitely up there. And then for my third 5-star book of June, like you actually just can't even write this, okay? This isn't a thriller, but it's also not a romance book. It is, well, I don't know, maybe someone class it as a romance book. It's just like a contemporary story, okay? This has been everywhere and you're gonna know why any minute, okay? It is space. It is NASA in the 80s and it is lesbians. It is of course Atmosphere, and it's also a Taylor Jenkins read book. I love this book so much that I cannot even put it into words, okay? I cried. I have never cried, I don't think ever, at a book before. Got a bit teary. Literally cried. So this follows a young group of wannabe astronauts. They're all trying to get onto NASA's training program in the 80s. It's told from the point of view of 2 of the women who are in this experimental women in space training program. But you've also got some male characters in there as well who are understanding like the struggles that the women are having. And I think because it's set in the 80s, there were so many things that like hit really hard. The fact that this was only 45 years ago, and living in 2025, there are so many things as a woman that now we wouldn't even consider, or this is not going to be a debate or a conversation or even my take on feminism in general. I have nowhere near enough knowledge to do that conversation justice, but I feel like even as a woman, you can just really delve into what these characters are saying, and it just really hit a spot like with me personally, but then also with the characters in general and their journey. And then there was of course like a crazy explosive high stakes ending because we are following a space story. I'm nowhere near doing this book justice. I loved it. The 5-star. I loved it. I don't know what else to say. Okay, and finally, book number 11 is nowhere near as good as that 5-star, and it was I Know What You've Done by Dorothy Comson. This was another brand new author to me, and I read this one as part of a project that I'm working on, and I liked it, but I just didn't love it. It was a domestic thriller where a woman knocks on another woman's door and has basically been, she thinks she's been unalived, but she's like on the floor like or injured, like ah, and she gives this woman her diary and she's like, read this, like I know. What I actually really liked about this was there were so many subplots, and these characters were really well developed in their own little individual lives. I think because it was just a kind of done again domestic thriller, it just, by the end I was kind of a bit like, okay, I'm kind of glad that's done. It wasn't a bad book, but it's also just not the first one that I would recommend. So I kind of gave it like a 2.5, 3, like the With a Vengeance by Riley Sager, for pretty much the same reasons. Like the writing was really good, I liked the little subplots, I liked the characters, but it was just absolutely like nothing brand new. It was a classic domestic thriller. So those were the 11 books that I read in June. It was of course a wonderful reading month, and I read so many physically as well, which I'm so happy about, because it just means that like my TBR entire bookcase is being cut down. It's not, because of course I've probably bought more than 11 books this month. We digress. So moving on to July's TBR, I have 8 books on my TBR this month. I've been reading a lot more than that, but I'm trying to just keep this TBR minimal because I feel like it just adds pressure otherwise, unnecessary pressure. There's no need to be stressed, it's reading, we do it for fun. So I'll start with the book I'm currently reading. It is already July, I'm a little bit late filming this. However, it is All Her Fault by Andrea Mara. I am such a big fan of this author. I've never rated anything less than a 4, and no idea why I've only just picked this up, because I'm 100 pages in, 113 pages in, and absolutely loving it. Like, Andrea Mara is the queen of page 1, bam, action. So the concept is a woman goes to pick her son up from a play date with a friend that he's met at school or nursery. She gets there, the kid isn't there, the woman she's left her child with isn't there, and the person who actually answers the door is like, I've no idea who this is, what you're talking about. She assumes it's a case of like she's texted the wrong address to go pick a kid up from, but she's not answering the phone. As you can imagine, holy hell breaks loose. But literally all of that happens on page 1, like I'm not even kidding. Literally, this is page 1, and it says, "Hi, Marissa, I'm here to pick up my son Milo," she said to the woman. "Ah, you must have the wrong house, there's nobody called Milo here." Page 1. Love this woman. I have really high hopes for this. I just know I'm gonna love it. Might be a 4, might be 4.5, you never know. It might be a next 5-star read. Stay tuned. And then I've also already started another book because, guys, I think it's Summerween. I think it is time that we dive into spooky season. It's July, so it's nearly October, right? So I'm in the process of filming a Summerween vlog, which are going to be like paranormal, supernatural, gritty thrillers that you guys can read over the summer. And the first one is We Used to Live Here. This was released maybe like 6 months to 12 months ago, so it's a relatively new release, but just not one that I've picked up yet. I've ordered the physical copy, I've started it on my Kindle, but I'm very keen to like get the actual book to read as well. I was reading this last night in bed and I was a bit spooked, I'm not gonna lie. I got up to use the bathroom in the middle of the night and I was a bit like, so it follows this queer couple who have bought this gorgeous, gorgeous house as like a renovation project, and one night one of them is in, one of them is at work, and this family just knock on the door and they're basically like, oh, the dad is like, I used to live here, like can I show my kids? Like we were just in the neighbourhood and I just thought it'd be really nice to see where the dad grew up. She's like no, like obviously no. And then like they just kind of convince her, and with that they are inside the house, they have a look round and they're like, come on guys, like let's go. Then the daughter decides she's going to go play hide and seek, and it's all very dramatic. I imagine, don't know because I haven't read the synopsis, that this is going to go in the direction of they don't leave, like they keep finding reasons to stay. who knows. And the next book I'm going to read is The Ghostwriter by Julie Clark. This is also a relatively new release. This is my Fable book club pick of the month, so if you want to come and read that with me over there, I would absolutely love that. And even better, I'm not sure how this works, but it's literally free on Prime Reading. So if you are an Amazon Prime member already, like nothing to do with Kindle Unlimited, it's just a free read this month, so go for it. I'll leave the link below if you want to go and check that out to like get this book for free. I saw it and I was like, surely not, but then I obviously announced on my Fable group what we were reading this month and everyone was like so excited that they could basically have like a free pick this month. It's also available in paperback as well, so of course I'll leave the link below, you know where they are. And this one follows a very famous author and he asks his daughter to ghostwrite his like final book. Not sure the circumstances of this, but it brings up a lot of events that happened in the 70s. That's all I know. I haven't read any more into this because I've seen such amazing reviews. I was like, I don't really want to spoil it with like doing like a deep dive into the reviews and the synopsis and like all of that stuff, but I'm very excited. Next up, as part of the whole Summerween vibe, I'm going to read Graveyard Shift by ML Rio. I also don't have this one physically, but this was a 99p read in July. And it's also like Summerween vibes. So this follows 5 college kids who work night shifts and they basically stumble upon this grave in a cemetery that like wasn't there before. I just absolutely love the naming of this book because they're working night shifts, but then it's also about a cemetery. Like I just think that was perfectly done, to be honest. This is a really short book. It's only like 120 pages, so I'm just gonna give it a go, see what I think. I do have If We Were Villains by ML Rio as well, which I haven't read yet, and I feel like this year, maybe the year, to give that a go. So if I like this, I will read this. I'm also going to read She Didn't See It Coming by Shari LaPena. This is her brand new release in July. I don't have a copy, so I'll be reading it with you guys on release day. I believe it comes out on July 17th in the UK. US, obviously, maybe a slightly different date. But this is like classic Shari LaPena domestic thriller vibes. It follows this family who one day the dad comes home and the wife is just not there, but like all of her stuff is. Super suspicious circumstances, like where is she? Who knows? I think similarly to What Have You Done, this also has like a detective in it, but isn't a detective story. The next book has been on my TBR before and I just haven't got to it, but I'm absolutely going to read it this month in like as part of like my new release reading vlog as it comes out on the 31st of July. And it is The Wasp Trap by Mark Edwards. I am very, very excited to dive into this author. And if you want a recap on what the premise is, these college kids in the 90s found a way to do like an online dating app with a difference. It all crashed and burnt around them and now there's a reunion of these specific people that worked on the app with a special guest. It's kind of giving dark academia, like in a way, but until I read it, I can't really comment on that. I'm also going to read Our Last Resort by Clemence Miquelon. I was so happy to get a advanced copy of this, but this is also out in July, like the next few days, I believe. Let me find out. 8th of July, this is publishing. For some reason, unbeknown to me, I've again been sent 2 copies of an advanced book, so I am very excited. I assume I'm just like on some sort of list twice. Anyway, I'm not complaining because it means I get to give one to you guys. So if you would like a copy of Clemence Miquelon's new book, obviously just one person, I only have 1 extra copy, and you have a UK shipping address because I'll just be sending it to you as a friend, just, you know, as a bestie, then drop a comment. First person who does can have it. Anyway, maybe listen to what it's about first. I don't know, you might actually not want to read it. However, it is a cult thriller, and this isn't normally my like cup of tea either, but it feels like a vacation thriller as well with a cult background. So that's why I thought I would pick it up. And it follows this couple who go to a luxury resort as their last resort because the marriage is basically crumbling, and one day they find a woman floating unalived in the pool, and I imagine then it jumps back to their past, how they met, and like more about their marriage as well as the current situation. And then the final book I'm going to read in July is A.R. Torrey's brand new release as well, A Happy Marriage, and this again follows a couple. You'll be surprised to know that this is my favourite area of thriller books that are they're not having a good time. One is a detective and one is a psychiatrist, so I'm very excited to see this duo. But aside from that, I actually don't know much about this book because it has literally just been released. It wasn't even really on my radar until the last few days. And then I was like, I've been loving A.R. Torrey's books so much that like, of course I'm gonna read it this month. So I'll do my best to get like some of these newer releases read and reviewed for you the next few weeks so you guys can decide whether you want to pick up a copy of them as well. As always, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. I love having you guys here so much, and when you subscribe it means you get like notifications when I post, so if you don't want to miss out, it's another little reason for you. And until next time, besties.